What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time!
All right, welcome back, guys and girls. If there's a girl watching this, comment below because I'd be very curious if a girl is listening to this. But guys and girls, welcome back to the Gametime Ballers Podcast. Today, our episode is going to be about the 2005 White Sox. And I tell you what, I got giddy kind of doing some research about this because I kind of remembered things that I didn't really realize I remember and sparked a lot of childhood memories. So I'm super excited about this episode. You got me, your host, Jacob Hicks here, and we got Josh on the ones and twos behind the mic there.
How's it going?
All right, so let's just get right into it. So the thing that we always do here at the Gametime Ballers Podcast, segment 1, the name drop segment. So when I say the 2005 White Sox, Josh, I'm going to put you on the spot. I know, were you even born then? Were you even born yet?
Yeah, I was born, but I didn't watch it.
How old were you?
Oh, man. Well, I was born in 1999, so do some
Lord
math
have
there.
mercy.
I mean, from what I remember from my friends.
I'm not going to hold it
I
against
would
you now that I
say
realize
the
how
only
young you were.
name- The only name I ever remembered was Konerko or something like that.
Paul Konerko?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an easy name to remember. He went on and played for a little bit too. I feel like when the heck did Paul Konerko retire? Probably not that long ago.
I don't know. I know he did end up going to other teams, but my buddy and his family were huge White Sox fans, and his name was always thrown around.
And people, we're going to let you know right now, we are schooling Josh in the game of baseball and the history of baseball as we go through these podcast episodes. So we're going to make this dude learn. We're going to make him a seam head. So the fact that he doesn't know a whole lot and we got one name drop out of it, that's fine. Dude was 6 at the time.
Yeah.
Now, I can name drop this team because I was 11. And there is a couple of reasons why I love this name drop section. So I'm going to save my best for last. First one going to be Jermaine Dye. Kind of forgot that he even played on this team, but he played for forever in the league and was just like a staple, consistent outfielder. Then, obviously, the guy that Josh just named, Paul Konerko. He's a dog. Dude hits daddy hack home runs, absolute moonshots. Probably some of the coolest home runs that you'll ever watch are Paul Konerko home runs because every time he hits them, you know that they are gone the moment it leaves the bat. I'm going to save the best for last on my name drop section. Number 3, part of the reason I get so giddy to talk about this team as I was looking back and doing my research. Number 5, Juan Uribe, shortstop for the White Sox. When I was watching and doing some research on this team, I realized Juan Uribe is really one of the 3 players on why I always wore number 5 growing up playing baseball. I always played shortstop, so especially I was 11 years old, 10, 11 years old at this time. Juan Uribe playing shortstop for the World Series team, best team in the league. I loved Juan Uribe, and I love the number 5. The other 2 players why I wore it, Tony Womack for you seam heads, and our Pujols. So that's my number 3 on the name drop. So with that being said, comment down below. Give me 3 names that you think about when you come to this team. Pick 3 different than me, and comment down below and let us know. All right, so with that being said, the next segment we're going to get into is our setting the stage. So we got to set the stage for the whole season, the whole playoff run, the whole World Series run for this remarkable, memorable, and very much forgotten team. Honestly, I'm going to label this podcast the 2005 White Sox, the forgotten champion, because literally everybody forgets about these dudes. And I'll talk about at the end, literally everybody forgets about these dudes.
People do have some theories as to why I was reading up on, which are a little bit interesting.
Ha! So now we got you on the hook. You got to stay till the end of the show when I talk about what we're talking about, and then Josh can give us his conspiracy theories.
Yep.
So watch out. We're going to become the Joe Rogan of baseball podcast. So all your conspiracy theories about baseball, we might cover those too. You never know. So with that being said, we're going to get into the setting the stage segment. Before we do that, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor, Gametime Bats. If you are a White Sox fan and you do not have one of these Gametime souvenir bats, I got one behind me. If you don't have one of these suckers in your trophy case, you're not a White Sox fan. Because let's be honest, you guys get forgot about a lot. Don't let your friends and family and coworkers and whoever else forget about the White Sox. Show them that you remember the 2005 White Sox. And with that being said, let's roll this ad from Game Time. Welcome back. Setting the stage segment. So let's set the stage for this during season, for this magical run. First off, let's talk about this. Between 1920 to 2004, the White Sox made the playoffs 4 times in almost 80 years. That is tough to be a fan of the White Sox. So that's why if you're listening to this and you're a White Sox fan, you got to smash the like button. Better go copy a bat because I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to dog you too hard. But there's not been a lot to celebrate. So you might as well celebrate the good times because right now you're currently in some bad times. It might be a long time. So I was going to say something about their current team, but I'm not even going to get into that. No need to tick people off. Let's talk about the team of destiny, the forgotten champion, the 2005 White Sox. So setting the stage for the season, let's kind of go into it. The year before, 2004, the Red Sox beat the Cardinals, swept them in the World Series, and they broke their 82-year drought from winning a World Series, and the media went freaking crazy. So, as we're getting into this 2005 season, I want you to think about that when we get through this, because the media, there's some dogs sometimes. There are some dogs just as much as these guys on this team. So, let's get into it, and we keep setting the stage for this team. 2004, they finished second in the division. That was the 7th time in the last 9 seasons that they had done so. So if you're a White Sox fan, you're like, we are almost there. But still, no one's going to remember us if you never make it past the division round. Mm-hmm. So, and if you're never winning the division. So with that being said, they knew they had to make a change. So that 2004 season, they made a lot of really good moves, and they kind of started to build that roster. They bring in Ozzie Guillen to start coaching the team. We'll get into Ozzie Guillen just a little bit more. I want to get into some of these other offseason acquisitions. They go out and they sign Jermaine Dye. They go out and they trade for Luis Fiscano. They go out and they trade for Scott Podsednik. They go out and they claim Bobby Jenks, who no one has ever heard of, but trust me, you'll know who Bobby Jenks is by the end of this season. They go out and they claim him off waivers. You want to know what that means, folks, if you're not a seam head? Josh, do you know what that means if you get claimed off waivers?
No clue.
Basically what that means is that the team that you were on doesn't want you, and you're too old to send back to the minors, so they put you on waivers. And every team has a chance to pick you up to bring you on a major league roster. Normally, when a guy gets waived, it's like the telltale sign that your career is done. That you're too old to go back to the minors, and no team is going to take a risk on an older guy that's not as good. So they go out, they claim Bobby Jenks, they see a little diamond in the rough, and boy, did he turn out to be a diamond for them. They go out, they get AJ Pierzynski. And they go out and I misspelled that name so bad in my notes, but we just got to talk about the fact that they have homegrown talent too in that lineup. So with that being said, we've kind of set the stage for it. Now let's get into the regular season. And as we talk about the regular season, again, we talked about the fact, second year, Ozzie Guillen at the helm. And if you don't remember who Ozzie Guillen is, I'm about to remind you. So Josh, let's pull up those clips to remind the people about Ozzie Guillen. Because, again, you're going to remember this dude if you don't. Because, honestly, he was one of the most entertaining people to ever do it. And probably one of the best to ever do it. This single-season run might be one of the best a manager has ever had.
Okay.
Ozzie Guillen, best moments. Right. We'll just let some of this play for the people. We'll skip through it.
Yeah, we'll run through it.
Listen to this dude talk.
Tell me about when you were being interviewed for the potential White Sox manager's job.
I was drunk.
That ball was foul.
I was drunk.
That's what we were looking for.
That is the Ozzie Guillen I remember. Just wait, it gets better. His post-game pressers were funny too.
You were drunk?
Yes. Yes, I was drunk.
Why come to the meeting for such an important
Because I didn't really
interview
care.
drunk?
When I called Moriarty's name,
You used a homophobic slur.
yes. That's the best thing I ever called Jay. That's the beauty. That's the best thing come out of my mouth for Jay.
Go to the hotel bar, get drunk, sleep. I don't do anything else. I get drunk because I'm happy we win, or I get drunk because I'm very sad and disturbed because we lose. Same routine, it never changes. It's been the same routine for 25, 28 years. It doesn't change. I don't like to go out. I never get in trouble. You see that? I never leave the hotel. Nobody can call my wife and tell her they see Ozzy in this bar or place.
I mean,
I never get in trouble. I don't go out. If I got drunk and someone talked smack to me, there'd be a fight. I'm too little to fight. If I was Giancarlo Stanton's size, I would be looking for fights.
He says I'm too little to fight.
I really feel you're in the dugout and you got to go number 2. You got to walk like a mile to get to the bathroom. That's horrible. You think I need a tweeter to let the fans know how horse my team is? No, they know it. They know it every day.
You know what, Simon? I knocked you out once.
Do it again.
You have no idea what's coming right now. Come on.
How about this?
Come on.
Go
Let's
ahead.
go. Come on.
Yeah. Get on my field.
Yeah.
Get on my field, piece of
This is amazing.
This is great.
That's the funniest thing I've ever seen. That was Ozzie Guillen, the manager of the world champion Chicago White Sox, belted you with that chair.
25-year-old Oni Guillen is the middle of Ozzie and Evis's 3 sons. Last year, when he was working in the White Sox video department, Oni criticized team management on his Twitter account.
I fired my own
Oh my. He fired his own kid.
That's wild. And Ozzie Guillen right now in Bellino's face.
Honestly, you probably hated Ozzy if you're going against him as an opposing team. If I ever had that dude as my manager, I'd run through a brick wall for that guy.
Oh, yeah.
A little more longer, this could be Ozzie's first.
Let's skip to the end here, see if there's any good ones towards the end.
He's already been tossed. So it is, number 1.
Let's see him in game right here.
Don't believe me, I'm not going to be with that to take you. I don't know about that.
And then in between innings, Ozzie. This is the hottest I have ever seen.
Guys, you can lip read if you're watching
since
this.
he's been managing. Well, he let it all go. He certainly got his money's worth and then some.
Oh my.
Fired up.
Todd Tichenor threw him out.
We hold going to be all the life. No matter how many World Series we win, we hold. We are the of Chicago. We're Chicago. We got the worst owner. The guy got 7 rings.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember this. That's crazy.
Actor Sean Penn.
He never held anything back.
All right, you can pause it at that point.
Yeah.
So the last Ozzy game clip that we'll show, we talked about our boy Bobby Jenks. So that season, when Ozzy Guillen wanted to call Bobby Jenks out from the bullpen, he did this, and it kind of like became a thing for that whole season. And so we'll roll it. This is just Ozzy being Ozzy. Apparently he got some scrutiny for this, but I think it's hilarious.
Let me turn that down a little bit.
Two out. Bagwell coming up
Wow, what a graphic.
after the strikeout of Mike Lamb.
That's sick. The old Fox tracker.
All fastballs. Ian looks down to his bullpen on his way out. And he makes the sign to the bullpen, give me the wide, tall guy. What a job by
I'm hoping they're going to run back.
Yeah, I
this.
hope they show it more. I'm sure they do.
If you're Bobby
Give me the wide guy.
Here's what your manager thinks of you. Give me this guy, big guy, tall.
Give me the big boy.
Coming in. First
Give me the big tall guy.
out, Sox up
That's
one.
freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah, you know,
I honestly,
why you'd get
if
it
I
on
ever
that.
coach a team, and I got just a big old freaking boy that can come out and throw some freaking heat, I'm doing that
Oh yeah.
when I call for him.
No, that's hilarious.
Holy crap! I feel like I just yelled there. It's not loud. All right, so we talked about. We set the stage for the season. We did our name drop. We have spent a lot of time talking about Ozzie Guillen here. So, with that being said, let's roll it into the regular season. Talk about this historic season run that the White Sox had. So, getting into the regular season, we talked about Ozzie Guillen. By the way, did I mention the fact that he played shortstop for 13 seasons for the White Sox in the 90s? He was on the last White Sox team to go to the playoffs, which was in 1994. So, well, no. Actually, I think that's right. I don't know. Quote me. Look in the comments. Tell me if I'm wrong. So, this team opens up in their first 34 games, wins 26 of them. So, they start off hot. They took first place like the first day of the season in their division with the win. They took first place in the division, and they held first place for the whole entire season. They basically, they're one of 4 teams to ever do this, but they won the first game of the season to take first place in the division, and then they held first place in that division for the whole entire 162 game season, and then won the World Series. Only 4 teams have ever done that before.
Yeah, from what I
They
heard,
were the
it wasn't
fifth.
it wasn't even fun for the other teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a team that won 99 games. So
I heard their pitching, their pitching was just elite. No one could hit them.
Pitching was elite, and honestly, they did something in the postseason that we'll talk about that I don't think will ever happen again in baseball. That's how elite their pitching was. So as we get into the season, at the All-Star break, they had a 9-game lead in the division. They had the best record in baseball still at 57-29. You had Paul Konerko leading the league in home runs at the All-Star break. You had 4 All-Stars on your team. Mark Burley got the start for the AL in the All-Star game. That's back when the AL, NL All-Star games decided home field advantage. So AL won, key thing. So AL won the All-Star game, got home field advantage for the World Series. Then in August, team starts to slump a little bit. They go 12-16 in August, which is kind of like the worst time because you want to be getting tuned up right before the playoffs. But then they really finish out the season hot. They finish out the season probably the best way that you can in order to set yourself up for a deep run. They won 8 of their last 10 games. And then throughout that last couple of months, they're really trying to figure out the bullpen situation. And this is, again, where we talk about with all these teams, it's guys that can do things, guys that are ready for when their number's called. We talked about Bobby Jenks. He gets claimed off waivers. No one thinks that this guy is ever going to be your pitcher that comes in the big spot. They went out and they got Dustin Hermason, who's pretty much your closer. Well, he was a bullpen guy, became your closer in May. He's kind of your closer through the summer months. He gets hurt. So they call up Bobby Jenks as a rookie and make him a closer. And he pretty much stays as a closer from like end of July throughout the whole postseason run. Dude's a rookie. Dude was claimed off waivers, like has no experience. And again, we just talk about teams got to be ready. Guys got to be ready. When your number gets called, you make the best of your moment. And there's one other thing that happens in this postseason run, specifically in the World Series, where, again, when we talk about guys when you get your chance and you take advantage of that moment, you will be remembered forever. And it doesn't matter what you do after that or before that. It doesn't matter whatsoever. And we got one guy on this team that is really the epitome of that. So we'll get into that when we get into the World Series. So going through the regular season, this team finishes out the season, wins 8 of their last 10. They win 99 games. They lead the AL in wins. They have the best record in baseball. Their starters ERA ranked first in the majors. Their bullpen ERA ranked second in the majors. So talked about really good pitching, Josh. Yes, really good pitching. Mm-hmm. And then we talked about how the fact that they took first place, held first place, never really had to think about anything. So we roll straight into the playoffs. And who do they got? ALDS, first round of the playoffs. They got the defending World Series champions, the Boston Red Sox. Boston is the top scoring team in the AL. And really, the White Sox made quick work of these dudes. As they did everyone else pretty much in this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
there's just
quick.
I mean, the history, the dominance of this run is insane. We're into the ALDS versus a big, bad defending World Series champions, Boston Red Sox. Boston, top scoring team in the AL. And what do the White Sox do? They make quick work of these boys and say, we're the real Sox in town. We're heading to the ship. You're just like another highlight on our end of the year DVD right now because we got places we got to be. Game 1, AJ Przinsky, 3-run bomb. They win that game 14-2. Game 2, we're gonna roll this highlight clip. I almost said Taguchi. That's hilarious. I forget what his first name is now. Something Iguchi.
Iguchi. Yeah, Iguchi.
I'm gonna murder it. We're just gonna roll the clip so I don't murder it anymore.
That's a big boy pitching right there.
Yeah.
Driven line hard to left field. Good!
right?
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, yeah. A lot of black and white in those stands.
Yeah, that place is jumping. See if they say his first name.
Oguchi.
I think it's like Tara Oguchi.
Yeah.
I probably should have done this research.
Done that research. It's all right. Last name is all we need. We know who we're talking about.
So, that's game 2. That was in the 7th inning to give the White Sox a lead. They go on to win that game 5-4. You're up 2 games. Win this 3rd game. Let's move on to the ALCS. So, game 3, we got game 3 in Chicago. Wait, is this still in Chicago? Let me think about this. No, this would be game 3 in Boston. Right? Yeah. Game 3 in Boston. So, game 3, Paul Konerko, haven't mentioned his name in a while, hits a big 2-run bomb. They go on to win that game. This is a team that now wins a playoff series, goes to the ALCS. This is a team that hasn't won a playoff series in almost 100 years. 100 freaking years. Like, think about that. Game Time Ballers Podcast, we're talking about history. We want to relive history. We want to highlight history of baseball. 100 years. That is a lot that has happened since you've won a playoff series. Yeah. So they're riding freaking high. Bobby Jenks closed out that game, that last game, in the 9th inning to win 4-3, sweep the series. We're on to the Angels. ALCS, on to the Angels. Haven't lost a game in the playoffs. Let's freaking roll into that. So, a little bit of highlights about the Angels. Let's talk about them. Angels won 95 games. They had one of the best rotations in baseball. Listen to some of these freaking names, people. Like, these are... If you are my age, I'm 29, I'm going to name these names. I'm going to name 2 guys. And you're going to be like, dang. And then if we ever get to see a clip of them or look up what they look like on this team, you're going to be like, whoa, it's even crazier. So first one, they have Bartolo Colon. Young, prime Bartolo Colon. Just a freaking true specimen to look at. If you look up John Lackey, that dude looked like the one freaking guy that the one white guy that everyone wants in as their friend because he looks like the dude you basically want on your side in a bar fight. He's just a big, old, country-looking boy.
Yeah, tough guy.
So the point is, they had a great pitching staff. So this is where the White Sox made history that might never happen again. I don't even have any highlights from this series because it went by that freaking fast. So let's talk about it. Do I have any highlights from that series, Josh? Do I have any video clips from the ALDS or ALCS, or was it all DS and then World Series?
It was all DS, and then we went straight to the World Series.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. So let me just talk about the ALCS versus the Angels. We talked about how great the Angels are, talked about how great their pitching staff is. Well, guess what? The White Sox don't care at all because guess what? They were just another stepping stone to get to the World Series because these dudes knew where they were going. And so let's talk about this. The 2005 ALCS, Ozzie Guillen, think about this. This is insane, people. Before I say this, I need to express the magnitude of what I'm about to say. This will never be done in baseball history again. I promise you, this will never happen, especially in the modern era of baseball. So, in the 2005 ALCS, Ozzie Guillen made one pitching change. One. The whole entire series. Think about that. The starting pitcher went every single inning, except for one game, where he called in someone from the bullpen to make 2 outs. That is insane and will never happen again. I don't even think I can express how crazy that is. So think about that. His starters of 45 possible innings in that series. His starters threw 44 1/3 innings. So that means 44 and 1 out into the ninth. That's crazy. To make one pitching change in 4 games, that will never be done again, ever, in MLB history. Ever. It won't happen. That crap gets me fired up because I'm telling you it will never happen again. And that one pitching change came in game 1. So he made 3 freaking games straight where the starter went out and went 9 innings. That, doesn't happen anymore. And that's why it will never happen again. It is history And how can you forget about these dudes when you think about stuff like that, in my opinion?
It's crazy to think that people did. Well,
Another thing, too.
ESPN.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the other thing, too, where, like, Ozzie Guillen just, like, some people, like, you might say, like, oh, he didn't do anything special in this by not ever having to make a pitching change. You're right. He just knew his team. He knew his guys. Guess what? He put the same lineup out there every single game, too. He never changed the lineup because he knew, like, I run with this, I win. And so I love that because it's just putting faith in your guys and knowing, like, you know that you're better than this team. Go do it, and we'll win.
Yeah, if it ain't broke.
Don't fix it. So Paul Konerko wins the series MVP for the ALCS, and for the first time in 88 years, well, yeah, the White Sox have the chance to win their first World Series in 88 years. I don't think they've been to a World Series. I think they went one time before that, but who knows? Either way, they got a chance to make history. Second longest drought behind the Cubs. Think about that. History is about to be made. At this point, through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, they are 7-1. They've lost 1 game. All right, Game Time Ballers fam, Chicago White Sox fans, let's get into this historic World Series. And they're facing off against the Houston Astros. So let's do a little remember who's on the 2005 Houston Astros. First of all, top 3 at the rotation, freaking all dogs. Roy Oswalt, Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte. That's a pretty star-studded top 3 of a rotation. But White Sox have a home field advantage. Remember, their starter, Mark Burley, went out and started the All-Star game in the AL won, so then AL has home field advantage for the World Series, and that's going to come in clutch. Because remember how we also talked about, leading up to this team's lost 1 game. Do you think they're about to start losing games now? No, sir. No. Because you want to know what they do? They go on and sweep this freaking series. So let's just get into the fun of it. Because for the first time in 88 years, Chicago White Sox are about to win a freaking World Series. And let's talk about how they did it. So game 1, starting off the game at home, Jermaine Dye, first inning, ding dong, home run, start off the game. Freaking, that park is going crazy at that point. Then we already showed Ozzie Guillen how he would signal in for Bobby Jenks. That clip that we ran was him signaling in Bobby Jenks in game 1 of the World Series. Bobby Jenks comes in that 9th inning, closes it out. White Sox win game 1, 1-0. Game 2, we get rolling, and then the big bats come out. And you thought that I probably wasn't going to give you a Paul Konerko highlight? Wrong. We're about to give you a Paul Konerko grand slam. Game 2, bottom of the 7th, putting the White Sox in the lead with this huge grand slam home run. Let's roll it.
Loaded 2 out with Konerko up, and he rips one in the left. Konerko, grand slam.
Moonshot. And that gave the White Sox a 6-4 lead at that point.
Wow.
Stunner. Okay, so game 2, that happens. Then, as we get into game 2, that's the bottom of the 7th. White Sox now have a lead 6-4. We're rolling through game 2. Ozzie Guillen brings in his guy, Bobby Jenks. Bobby Jenks gives up 2 runs in the top of the 9th, and the Astros tie the game going into the bottom of the 9th. And then, this is what happens next. We have this next highlight pulled up. Brad Lynch giving up the walk-off shot to Scott Pasednik. Quick thing before you roll this highlight, Josh. Scott Pasednik had hit 2 home runs the whole season, either 1 or 2 home runs the whole season. And now he hits a home run in like one of the biggest moments to walk off game 2 and give them a huge 2-0 lead. That's just kind of funny. It's always the least likely dudes that come through. And it also talks about, we say it time and time again, you got to have a team of dogs.
Yes, you do.
Scott Pasednik with the long shot. Walk it off, 7-6, off Brad Lynch. Brad Lynch hadn't been broken yet by Albert Pujols. Well, actually, yeah, he got broken the year before by Albert Pujols. White Sox win, 7-6. Game 1, Game 2, won them both, up 2-0. Time to go to Houston. And what happens in Game 3, first game in Houston, will go down in World Series history. And that's just all I'm going to say about it before we get into it. The first reason why it will go down in World Series history is because it was the longest game played in World Series history of 14 innings. So, Josh's already got one highlight clipped up, but I'm going to make sure that I talk about the game first. So, Game 3, top 5, the White Sox scored 5 runs to take a 5-4 lead. They were down 4-0 going into the 5th inning. They score 5 in the 5th inning to go up 5-4. And then obviously this game goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You get to the 14th inning, and one of the least likely heroes probably ever. The odds of this dude hitting a home run in this game, probably very low. Jeff Blum. And so let's talk about Jeff Blum really quick before we roll this highlight. You can read what's going to happen, so you know. So Jeff Blum, just so everyone knows, he was acquired at the trade deadline in a very low-end, not talked about trade deal. So he played 30 games for the Chicago White Sox. That was the only season he was on the White Sox, was this year, for 30 games. And he had 4 at-bats the whole postseason. He gets this at-bat, and he does this. And now there's a freaking statue of this dude outside of the White Sox Stadium. So let's roll the clip and see why he's got a statue.
The longest game in the World Series history. Blum hits it into right, down the line. It is gone. Jeff Blum, the former Astro.
That place got quiet quick.
And here in the 14th inning, the White Sox take a 6-5 lead. Jeff Blum gets his first at-bat of this series and only his second of the postseason.
First at-bat in the World Series. Second in the postseason. That's wild, dude.
That's crazy.
Again, it's about being ready when your number gets called. And that dude was ready. He's got a freaking statue out there now. Because when big-time players make big-time plays in big-time moments, you get a freaking statue. Guaranteed rate field. That's what it's called now. I wonder what it was called back then.
Oh, yeah, guaranteed.
Yes, it was guaranteed rate field. Well, he guaranteed himself a statue outside of that field. Can't talk. So, that is Game 3. Game 3, they win in 14 innings. Mark Buehrle comes in and closes out the game for the longest World Series game in World Series history. And a little funny story about Mark Buehrle. We'll decide if we're going to keep this in the video or not. But I was doing some research on this team, and one thing that I found out about Mark Buehrle. Oh, do you have the story queued up?
I do.
Oh, run this. Run this. They can probably tell it better than me.
Yeah, let's see what they say. I haven't watched it, so we'll see if it's any good.
Got
A few beers deep when he saved Game 3 of the 2005 World Series. Buehrle started Game 2 for the White Sox and tossed 7 solid innings to lead them to a 2-0 series lead. When Game 3 rolled around, he thought there was no way he was going to get into the game and decided to have a few cold ones and watch just like the fans. He checked in with his coaching staff in the bullpen, and they confirmed that he wasn't going to pitch, so he began cracking them open early in the contest. Game 3 didn't go as planned.
Love that.
Heading into the 14th inning, Buehrle began to warm up, no more than 3 beers deep according to him. He was the 9th and final pitcher of the game for the White Sox, as he induced a pop-up to secure the final out of the ballgame and earn himself a World Series save. The White Sox wrapped up the series a day later, and Buehrle was free to drink as much as he wanted to without having to worry about pitching for the next few months. Like and follow for more.
You gotta love that for the boy.
Yeah.
And honestly, dude, if you want to be a fan of just a true American hero playing America's pastime, winning you a freaking World Series, dude, I would be a Mark Buehrle fan for life if I was a White Sox fan and I knew this story.
Yeah, that's about as American as it gets.
Exactly. So we talked about Jeff Blum hits that home run, gets himself a bronze statue. We talked about Mark Buehrle coming in, closing out the longest game in World Series history. So guess what now, people? The White Sox are up 3-0. Do you think they're about to start letting the Astros win? Nope. So, Game 4 in Houston, they close this thing out. You're up 3-0, and guess what? White Sox, you're not going to let your foot off the gas. You're not going to take your foot off their neck. It's time to close this bad boy out and win the first World Series for your franchise in 88 years and make some freaking history. So, Game 4, it is a low-scoring game, 1-0. The big boy, Bobby Jenks, comes in, closes it out, and let's roll that clip of the final out of this 2005 World Series, where the White Sox end the longest World Series drought, second longest World Series drought in MLB history. Run it.
Tying run at second, 2 out. Palmeiro over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges, throws.
Nice play, Juan Uribe.
Have won the World Series.
Love that. Number 5, up the middle.
Juan Uribe with a the play, charging it, throwing it, and
That team finishes the playoffs going 11-1. 11-1. That's crazy.
Well, that's part of the reason why people thought it was kind of forgotten about, because, I mean, they just dominated the entire series. But, I mean, as we know, now that we...
Why would you want to forget about that?
I think that's why other sports networks forget about it, is because they were saying there's little drama. But when you think about it, the games that they played, it's not like those games were boring. I mean, they had great moments. I mean, one of them went into
when
a
you just
14th
beat
inning.
the literal crap out of everyone that you play,
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah, and then there's other stuff that, reasons why people might have forgotten, but yeah.
Yeah. So again, to wrap this up, the White Sox win their first World Series championship in 88 years. So if you're a White Sox fan, we already showed you the Game Time bat. You better go cop one of those things. Look down in the description of this video for a link to go over there to Game Time bats. One cool thing that we do with Game Time bats that you as a Chicago fan should love, with every bat that Game Time bat sells, we put a portion of those proceeds towards the RBI program. So when you buy a bat and you got it in your trophy case, you're helping grow the game of baseball, which we love that. We all want the game of baseball to grow, and we all want the new generation to get into it and love it the way we love it. So make sure you're going down and you're copping that. Before we wrap this episode up, I named it the Forgotten Champions. So now I'm going to roll to why this team has just been forgotten by the media, and I just feel so sorry for them. So we're going to highlight it and let you know, White Sox fans, we remember. White Sox players, we remember. We remember 2005, even though the media didn't want to. So first thing we'll roll into, ESPN, when the Cubs were in the World Series in 2016, they were comparing the championships won between Cleveland and the city of Chicago, because it was Indians, Cubs. And they show all the championships Chicago's won and all the championships Cleveland has won, and just totally forget to put the White Sox championship on there. So again, ESPN doubles down, makes another mistake, and forgets about the White Sox. Whenever they're tweeting about the Dodgers were on a 7-1 in their first 2 rounds of the postseason. And they said that they were the only team in MLB history to not have besides the 98 Yankees, to only lose 1 game and get to the World Series. Also wrong, because the Chicago White Sox did that same thing. So again, ESPN forgot about the White Sox. Then you get on, do you have the CBS tweet on here? During 2016, during the World Series, they tweet out that it is the first time a World Series game has been played in the city of Chicago in 77 years. Just completely forgetting that in 2005, the White Sox hosted World Series games in Chicago. So the last thing where we'll talk about, the media has just forgotten about this team, and it's a freaking shame. And here at the Game Time Ballers podcast, we do not forget. And you as a White Sox fan, don't forget and go get you a bat. The last thing, this Wheel of Fortune thing is just freaking hilarious. So Josh, pull that one up. Yeah, so I believe the question is fill out the Chicago teams. And if you'll look at it, they got the Blackhawks, great, got the hockey team, got the Cubs, got the Bulls, got the Bears. Where are the White Sox?
Nowhere to be seen.
Even Wheel of Fortune forgot. I might have said Jeopardy at first. Who knows?
I think
whatever.
It looks like it might be Jeopardy. Is it Wheel of Fortune?
I think it's Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So yeah, with all that being said, the media has forgotten about you 2005 White Sox, but we have not at the Game Time Ballers podcast. So if you like this episode, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you go drop a comment in the comment section. Make sure you're hitting that link to go over to Game Time Bats and get you a Chicago White Sox World Series souvenir bat so that you can also help grow the game of baseball. So 1, we're going to help you fill your trophy case. 2, we're going to help you feel good about yourself for growing the game of baseball. So why don't you do those things for me? And as always, we thank you guys for listening. This is Jacob over here. We got Josh on the 1s and 2s. That's going to be it for today's episode of the Game Time Ballers podcast. We'll see ya.